Tower 600, also known as the GM RenCen Tower, is part of Detroit's iconic Renaissance Center, a complex of 7 interconnected skyscrapers along the Detroit River. This specific tower, which has been a part of General Motors headquarters, is set to go up for auction in March 2025. The starting bid for the property is $2.75 million. The building, which has largely been vacant in recent years, with only a small portion of tenants still occupying space, offers significant redevelopment potential. The total space of Tower 600 spans around 334,000 square feet, and its current low occupancy has led to the decision to sell. The auction presents an opportunity for buyers looking to repurpose the building for various uses, including office space, residential apartments, retail, or even a mixed-use development. The property also features a parking garage with 475 spaces, adding to its appeal for developers interested in turning the tower into something new. The auction is seen as a way to give the building a fresh start, tapping into the increasing interest in Detroit's downtown revitalization. Would you like more details on the history of the Renaissance Center or its significance in Detroit?
Yes.
The Renaissance Center, or RenCen, is one of Detroit's most iconic landmarks, representing the city's post-World War II revival and its significance as a center for business and industry. The complex was developed by General Motors, GM, in the 1970s and officially opened in 1977. It was designed to serve as GM's world headquarters and was part of a larger vision to revitalize Detroit's waterfront and downtown area. The complex consists of 7 interconnected skyscrapers, with the tallest being the GM Tower, standing at 727 feet. At the time of its completion, the Renaissance Center was the largest construction project in Michigan, and it became a symbol of GM's global influence and Detroit's ambition to modernize. It is located along the Detroit River, offering panoramic views of both the river and Canada. Though initially a success, the Renaissance Center's relationship with GM changed over time. The company vacated the complex in 2000, though it later returned in 2014 when it made the decision to move its headquarters back to Detroit.
That's not even accurate.
In the meantime, the complex has housed various businesses,
not developed
office
by
spaces,
GM.
retail,
It was
and
developed
restaurants.
by private
The RenCen's
investors.
ownership and control have shifted over the years. It was bought by the Detroit-based company Bedrock, owned by Dan Gilbert, in 2014. Under Bedrock's ownership, there have been plans for substantial renovations and improvements to help the area adapt to the changing landscape of downtown Detroit. Tower 600, in particular, has not been the focus of these major renovations and remains mostly underutilized. Its low occupancy and location within the complex make it an interesting target for potential investors looking to capitalize on Detroit's ongoing revitalization. Today, the Renaissance Center remains a symbol of Detroit's resilience and ambition. It still houses numerous businesses and has become a hub for city events, conferences, and even hotels. It's also home to the headquarters of several large companies and is a key part of the Detroit skyline. Would you like to dive deeper into the history of GM's role in Detroit or the Renaissance Center's architectural features?
Well, the Renaissance Center was not developed by General Motors in the 70s. It was a private group of people.
You're absolutely right. I appreciate the correction. The Renaissance Center was not developed by General Motors in the 1970s. It was actually developed by a group of private investors led by architect and developer John Portman. The project broke ground in the late 1970s and was completed in 1977. General Motors moved into the complex in 1996, becoming its anchor tenant, which helped solidify its place as a symbol of Detroit's revitalization efforts. Originally, the Renaissance Center was part of a broader plan to rejuvenate.
So Tower 500 and 600 at the Renaissance Center. The Tower 600 is going up for auction in March of 2025.
The 600 Tower in Detroit's Renaissance Center is set for an online auction on March 17th to 19th, 2025 with a starting bid of $2.755 million. This 334,000 square foot building, constructed in 1980 and renovated in 2024, is mostly vacant with only 11% occupancy. The auction aims to attract a wide range of potential buyers, including those interested in office, residential, retail, hotel, or mixed-use development. The building also features an on-site 475-space parking garage.
What's the occupancy rate of the GM RenCen Tower 600?
The occupancy rate of the GM Renaissance Center is currently about 11%. This low occupancy has led to the decision to auction the building in 2025, with hopes that a new owner can repurpose the space for different uses, like residential, retail, or mixed-use development.
Can you tell me more about the history of this tower?
Tower 600, part of the Renaissance Center in Detroit, is one of the 7 towers that make up this iconic complex. The Renaissance Center, developed in the 1970s and completed in 1977, was initially a project by private developers led by architect John Portman. General Motors moved into the complex in 1996 and became its anchor tenant. The 600 tower was completed in 1980 and is a key component of the Renaissance Center. It was designed to provide office space, and over time, it became primarily associated with GM. However, like the rest of the Renaissance Center, Tower 600 has undergone various changes, especially since GM vacated parts of the complex after the early 2000s. Despite its strategic location along the Detroit River, the tower faced challenges related to low occupancy in recent years. Over the years, Tower 600 has largely remained underutilized, despite its position within the bustling Renaissance Center. The building was initially built with modern amenities typical of the era, featuring ample office space and large floor plates. Its location within the center offered excellent views of the Detroit River and Canada, making it an attractive location for office tenants. Today, the building is being auctioned due to its current vacancy of 11%.
Empty parking lot. Man, unbelievable. $20 a day for 16 hours. $20 for 24 hours. 25. Yeah, I don't think so.
Let me know what you'd like to explore next, or if there's anything I can do for you.
This more about the Renaissance Center in Detroit.
The Renaissance Center in Detroit is a significant landmark, not just for the city, but for the entire region. As a major piece of the city's architectural history, it represents Detroit's efforts to modernize and revitalize its downtown during the late 20th century. Here's more about its history and evolution, development and construction. The Renaissance Center was initially envisioned as a way to bring a modern business district to downtown Detroit. It was developed by a group of investors led by architect John Portman, who sought to create a mixed-use development that combined office space, retail, hotels, and restaurants. Construction began in the late 1970s, and the first phase of the project, including the Renaissance Center's 5 Towers was completed in 1977. The centerpiece of the complex is the GM Tower, the tallest of the 7 towers, standing at 727 feet. When it was completed, the largest construction project in Michigan's history, and was seen as a symbol of Detroit's economic future. The entire complex was designed to house businesses, making it a hub of commerce in the region. General Motors and its role. General Motors GM played a crucial role in the Renaissance Center's identity. The company moved its headquarters into the complex in 1996, becoming the anchor tenant. This decision was pivotal for the RenCen, as it gave the complex a high-profile tenant and solidified its place in the city's economic and architectural landscape. GM's headquarters helped attract other businesses to the area, and the Renaissance Center became a symbol of Detroit's post-industrial ambition. In 2000, however,
good exercise.
GM moved its headquarters out of the Renaissance Center, citing a need for more space. Despite this, GM's presence remained significant in the complex, and the city continued to see the Renaissance Center as a key part of its urban identity. In 2014, GM returned to the Renaissance Center, moving back into the GM Tower and reaffirming its commitment
No,
to
wait a
Detroit.
minute. GM never moved out.
Renovations and modernization.
That's not accurate. You have to make a correction that GM never moved out of their RenCen after they purchased it.
You're absolutely right. My apologies for the confusion. General Motors never fully moved out of the Renaissance Center after it purchased it. In fact, GM has been a key tenant in the complex since it moved in during 1996. There was always a presence in the Renaissance Center, and even after some shifts in office space, GM remained involved in the development of the center. In 2000, GM did scale back its operations within the center due to space needs, but it never completely left. It returned to the Renaissance Center in 2014, consolidating its headquarters in the GM Tower. So, while GM had a more fluctuating presence, it never fully vacated the Renaissance Center, and the company's headquarters remained a fixture there. Thank you for pointing that out, and I hope this clears up any confusion. If you'd like to know more about GM's history with the complex or the Renaissance Center's other features, feel free to ask.
It's pretty eerie when it's an empty high-rise in the major city.
It definitely is eerie to see such a large, empty high-rise in the heart of a major city like Detroit. Empty buildings, especially ones with as much history and architectural significance as the Renaissance Center's Tower 600, can give off a feeling of abandonment, even if they are located in an otherwise vibrant city. Detroit, in particular, has seen its fair share of ups and downs over the years. And the sight of unused spaces like Tower 600 can be a reminder of those challenges. However, the city has been in the midst of a revitalization in recent years, with more attention and investment focused on bringing new life to its abandoned or underused properties. In a way, the emptiness can also be seen as a temporary phase before redevelopment and reinvention, which can be exciting as it signals a potential transformation. Are you seeing more of these kinds of empty spaces around Detroit, or is this one particularly standing out to you?
Quite a bit, actually. The Penobscot building, and GM is moving out of the GM RenCen to Hudson's Detroit.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Penobscot building. Detroit certainly has its fair share of iconic but empty high-rises. The Penobscot, for instance, has been a symbol of Detroit's historic skyline, but like many other buildings in the city, it's seen its occupancy decrease over the years. As of recent, efforts to revitalize it have been underway, but the vacancy remains a visible reminder of the city's struggles and the broader shift in office space needs, particularly after the pandemic. And with GM's move from the Renaissance Center, it feels like a major chapter for the city. GM's headquarters has been a landmark, so their departure marks a change in Detroit's corporate landscape. Even though GM is still in the Renaissance Center, their relocation to other spaces and their overall restructuring brings a sense of uncertainty for buildings that once thrived with the company as a key tenant. On the flip side, there has been considerable investment in the downtown area from private investors and local groups, including Dan transforming old spaces into new uses. Residential, mixed use, creative hubs, or even tech-centric offices. How do you feel about the ongoing changes to these iconic Detroit buildings?
Tell me
Are
some
you
ways
seeing
that
any signs of change that might indicate new opportunities for these spaces?
tell me some ways that the Renaissance Center can convert the towers to residential or I don't know, condos.
Converting the towers of the Renaissance Center, RenCen, into residential or mixed-use spaces is an exciting possibility that aligns with trends in urban redevelopment. Here are a few ideas on how that could work, leveraging the complex's structure, location, and iconic status. 1. Convert office floors into apartments or condominiums. One of the most straightforward conversions would be to take the office floors in the towers and turn them into residential units. This would involve redesigning the floor plans to accommodate smaller living spaces, with layouts optimized for apartments or condos, installing amenities such as modern kitchens, bathrooms, and storage solutions tailored for urban living, incorporating windows, and creating open spaces to highlight the incredible views of the Detroit River and Canada, which can be a huge selling point for residents. 2. Mixed-use development. A mixed-use approach could bring a variety of functions to the RenCen. Residential apartments on the upper floors with stunning views, possibly luxury condos with high-end finishes, retail and dining spaces on the lower floors, creating a vibrant atmosphere at street level. This could include cafes, restaurants, and shops to draw both residents and visitors. Cultural and community spaces like art galleries, exhibition spaces, or event halls on the middle floors, making the RenCen a hub for the local community. 3. Co-living and shared spaces. With the rise of co-living spaces, the RenCen could appeal to younger professionals, students, or remote workers by turning some of the space into shared living environments. This model would involve private bedrooms with shared amenities like kitchens, lounges, and co-working spaces. Community building features such as communal dining areas, gyms, and social spaces to foster a sense of connection and collaboration. Hotel conversion or extended stay apartments. The RenCen could offer a combination of short-term and long-term housing.
Do you think it's ridiculous that they're going to tear down Tower 300 and 400 of the GM RenCen?
It sounds like you're feeling strongly about the potential changes happening in Detroit, especially when it comes to tearing down or drastically altering important buildings and landmarks. It can definitely feel frustrating when places with a lot of history or significance are at risk of being demolished, especially when they've been part of the city's identity for so long. Detroit has seen a lot of transformations, both positive and negative, over the years. Sometimes these changes bring new opportunities, but they also come with the challenge of preserving what makes the city unique and special to its residents. It can be tough to balance revitalization with respect for the past. What specifically about the Renaissance Center or other parts of Detroit are you most concerned about?